There's a whole world of cinema to be discovered. You just have to overcome that 1-inch barrier known as subtitles. My name is Kieran Griffiths. This is That 1-Inch Barrier. Joined as always by Nick LaBarrow, Josh Barry. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good, man.
Good.
How are you?
Very good.
I'm jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'm not going to lie to you. This movie gets me going. This is a Sprite. But I just...
With zero sugar as well.
Zero sugar. But
Jacked.
this movie gets me jacked.
And understandably so. Today we're talking about the 2011 Indonesian action thriller film The Raid, written, directed and edited
Yes.
by Welsh director Gareth Evans. Yes, you heard me right. Indonesian film by Welsh director
Hey.
Gareth Evans.
If there's one podcast that's worth covering on, it's this one. Because as far as we're concerned, Wales is another country a long, long way away that is basically a foreign country to us.
Well,
Yeah.
it is.
they speak Welsh.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, even their idea of English is completely, completely bizarre. So
I can say that I have a Welsh partner, so that's okay. I can get away with it. And you're from United Kingdom.
yeah,
so
it's all the same stuff, right?
it's all the same.
There's really not much to talk about in terms of the plot of The Raid, but it is essentially about a SWAT-like team raiding a sorry,
It's good.
raiding a drug lord's apartment complex. So it's like a
Yeah.
15-story building, and the drug lord is on the top floor, and all the other floors are filled with various levels of criminals who are, either working for the drug lord or holed up on their own shenanigans. And the SWAT team basically have to go from the ground floor up to the top to try and take out this
kingpin.
This kingpin.
God, it's fucking cool. Oh my God.
And shenanigans ensue when they get about halfway up the building.
Yeah, they get to level 6, don't they?
They get to level 6, and then suddenly they get found out. Most of the team dies, and we're left. And this is like 15 minutes into the film.
This movie does not waste time at all.
And we are left with Officer Rama, who is a rookie,
Eco UIs.
and he is one of the only guys left. And he has to fight his way through this entire apartment building,
Yeah.
being hunted down. He's got no weapons.
And even scarier, he doesn't know whether everyone he's alive with is on his side or not.
Yeah.
Corrupt cops. Who would have thought?
Is it The Departed again?
I mean, maybe that's why I have such an affection for this film. I loved corrupt cops.
From like 1 second in,
Yeah.
the tension as they're just driving to the.
I love it.
It's just on the edge of your seat straight
You get
away.
all the backstory you need. He's
Yeah.
a rookie cop.
Yeah.
He's got a pregnant wife.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
goodbye like, this is just going to be this mission I need to do, and then we're going to be okay. And you automatically know shit's not going to be okay.
And you know he's like a quick fighter.
Oh, when he's doing his
little montage. Which,
so fucking cool. But then, they're in the car. There's 20-man SWAT team. And they're
just
like,
the music, the score. It's just
how good is the score of
Yeah,
this
it
film?
is- it's
Oh
really,
my
really
God.
It
Do you know
really
there's- Sorry, do you know
underpins-
there's 2 scores? There was one for the initial release outside of America, and then Mike Shinoda, who is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, might be either Linkin Park or Limp Bizkit, one of the two.
Linkin Park.
Linkin Park
Yep.
came in and did a score for the US release. Yeah, which is the one we got, which is that real like guitar heavy sort of electric guitar heavy. Yeah,
But it's a great score. Like, it really underpins like the martial arts combat element of it.
yeah.
Like, it just, you've got like this real rock heavy soundtrack while dudes are beating the shit out of each
oh
other.
yeah, it's so fucking cool.
It is.
Like, this is
is a
where
cool
all of
movie.
our like illusions about being, like film nerds and high art, that's all out of the window. It's like 100 minutes of dudes punching one another. Fuck yeah.
But if we were comparing it to other movies of 100 minutes of dudes punching the fuck out of each other, this would be higher art compared to other ones. I would say
It's one of the best films I've seen about dudes punching each other.
Oh, and it's so exhilarating and exciting, and for the little story it has, it's enough for you to be invested enough to be like, live Rama, live.
Yeah.
Like that's
And
all
like
you
Josh
want.
said, you are in from the first minute. You are into this movie and you are hooked, and it wastes no time.
Gareth Evans just puts the camera so close, especially in that truck scene where you were just like, I feel like I was just sitting there in the middle of the truck and just being like, all right, I'm about to go raid this place as
There's
well.
some great camera shots.
Oh my God.
Him tilting the camera on quite a few. They're
Yeah.
beautiful shots.
That one and we'll talk about sort of how low budget this this film is.
Yeah.
But there's that one shot, I think you're thinking the same thing, where they storm through the door and he's got the gun and it's on the angle and he's just bursting.
Yeah, it's so good.
It jacks you up. This is one of those movies that, like, I'm not going to say I did this, but I felt like it. I just wanted to get up and start air punching things. I was just like,
You definitely did it, didn't you?
okay, maybe I did. But it's just like, I was like, firstly, it gives you a false sense of like, hell yeah, I could do this.
Yeah, you're like, I could take on 100
The
dudes.
falsest sense of that. But like I was saying to you guys off mic, like me and my brother, this movie came out in 2011. So I was just finishing high school at the time. Me and my brother, who's a few years younger than me, like we were obsessed with this movie. Yeah. It's just one of those movies that I feel like you get a bunch of your mates around and you're just like, this is the coolest shit. And in saying that, it's an Indonesian production using Indonesian stuntmen and fight choreographers. Yep. So it's not doubling out. Actually, it's funny. I was watching part of it with my partner Rhiannon yesterday. I was saying the same thing of like, the reason this is so, you can differentiate this so much from a Hollywood action film is that Rama, who is Iko Uwais, who is now quite popular in Hollywood mainstream, that's him in every shot. Mm-hmm. He's doing all the choreography.
And that's the case for a lot of the cast.
For a lot of them, yeah.
And a lot of them were, part-time actors, full-time martial arts.
Yeah.
You know.
And it works. Like, they give the performances that this movie requires. Not everyone is incredible, but, I'm also not going to be like, oh, I can't imagine like the drug kingpins and drug dealers being amazing actors. Like, no, they do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And they just come in and kick ass. This movie is literally 95% action scenes.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
That's it. That's the episode. It is a very, as Nick said, low budget, dirty, gritty kind of film.
Oh yeah.
Like they shot it on digital handy cams basically, so they could get a lot of those really rough and rugged kind of shots where they're just like throwing the camera around basically. Oh, yeah. And I mean, it is like this dirty, gross apartment building and it's a dirty, gross looking film. Yeah. But that really adds to the whole aesthetic and vibe of the movie. And I love that. Like, it's not that slick, clean, stylish, John Wick Chapter 4 where everyone's wearing suits and, everyone's like...
But even sort of you look at the choreography and the cinematography of John Wick 4, which a lot of... Actually, let's look back at John Wick 3, in which two of the actors from the raid are part of the climactic battle scene in John Wick 3. Like, how influential the raid's fight choreography was now to what we see in modern action cinema. But... yeah, John Wick is a much more stylized. It's a lot more clean, polished, and that fits for that world. But like you said, this is just a gritty slum apartment building in Indonesia. If it looked amazing, I'd be like, okay. If it looked like Dread, for example, which is another film in which is an apartment building raid sort of thing.
And that film's awesome, by the way. I love that movie.
So good. It would feel completely different. I think the idea of it being so gritty and gross kind of makes it cooler in a way. Like I feel so immersed into this, and it kind of gets away then with having things in it that are cool for the sake of being cool.
Yeah.
One of the first kills in the film is just two hands of an officer coming just from the darkness and strangling one of the watchers. And you kind of like, I don't know how that officer got there. I don't know how it's so pitch black behind him.
Care.
I don't give a shit. It looked awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
And you kind of get away with that when you get a film that is just this gritty and gross and things like that. The budget of this film allegedly US dollars 1.1 million.
That's
so good.
Incredible.
That's nothing, right? That's even a small budget film. For example, famous Oscar speech from Cord Jefferson recently, who won adapted screenplay for American Fiction, said it's a $20 million movie.
Yeah.
There's no action. I don't know if you know this. There's no action scenes in American Fiction.
Really?
That's a $20 million. Actually, no, there is one scene where someone gets shot. But
20 mil, yeah.
How many people get shot, stabbed, punched, kicked, thrown out of windows, thrown off tables? Like, for $1.1 million, the way this movie looks is incredible.
Yeah.
How much blood is for all like, it's a bloody film.
I mean, there's shots in there that are really impressive for a film that came out in 2011 and was so low budget. Like, you see people get shot in the head and, their head explode.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
And it looks
and
good. Like,
it looks really good, yeah.
It's not this, it's not And whether it is CGI or not, that's kind of, if you're asking that question, that means it's how good it is because,
Yeah.
you know,
And it would be so easy to, you know, cut off before, you know, someone gets shot or to edit that, you know, so that you don't see it.
Yeah.
But it shows it all.
and the stabbings as well. Like it's
Yeah.
it's this form of martial arts where, like, you know, people are fighting with knives and someone gets stabbed 6 times in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and you see just the knife go in and it's brutal. It's intentionally incredibly brutal. It's very off-puttingly violent. It's supposed to be like you're supposed to cringe
Yes,
at every punch. And
the
kick.
quick punches and the quick stabs. Like there's a scene probably halfway through the film where he's fighting in a hallway against a bunch of dudes with like dudes who are unarmed. Like some of them have knives, but he's just working his way through this hallway,
single one of them
and he's
are.
just like, you know, grabbing a knife off someone, cuts, you know, a couple of guys up, and then he throws the knife at someone else.
Is
then
that the
he
one
keeps
where
going
he
and
kicks the guy in the shin too
yeah.
and like snaps his
Yeah.
It's so cool.
But like you said, it makes you want to get up and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go fight some people on the street.
It jacks you up. Like I get real like, and that's just
It's like I get out of
fun it
breath
is.
walking up the stairs, but like,
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm surviving these fights long, but it's
But it
worth
makes you
shot.
want to.
Makes you goddamn want to. It's just so like in a really fun way, super stylized. Like you know, in real life, people don't fight like this, but it's so entertaining to watch. And I think from a foreign cinema perspective, like we were saying, the difference between this and Hollywood is that these guys are in frame, these wide shots doing extended long pieces of choreography, not covered by lots of cuts and, you know, stitched together moments. Like they're doing insanely long bits of fight choreography that is pulled off with perfection. It looks like the punches and the kicks land. They're getting the amount of people thrown into cupboards, filing cabinets and walls in this film.
yeah, dudes launched into tables.
Like it's just incredible. But you wouldn't see that in an American film.
No.
Well, you would, but and full credit to the stunt community, but like you wouldn't see an actor doing that. As much as we love to say that Tom Cruise, and Keanu Reeves are doing their, you know, their own stunts, which they are, it's not on the same level as this.
Yeah,
and you couldn't do it in Hollywood with this thing called insurance. I think I do think you can kind of get away with a little bit more in Indonesia.
Yeah, they might play it a bit more fast and loose in Indonesia. But I think, you know, it's so the fighting that they do is based around the traditional Indonesian martial art of pencak silat.
Yep.
My pronunciation of that is probably terrible. But that's the choreography and the fight, the martial arts style that, you know, the actors know. And it's the actors doing the fight choreography.
Yeah.
So they've not got, you know, someone else coming in and going, okay, you need to punch him like this, and then you need to throw him like this, and then you need to land like this.
Yeah.
The actors are working through that themselves.
Yeah.
And act, you know, working through that with the other actors, which is so cool. And it really adds to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the things I love most about it is, and we're probably going to reference John Wick a fair bit in this episode because it's, people know it.
I also think John Wick, well, a lot of that fight style was heavily influenced by.
Yeah.
From an outsider perspective anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
it feels like the Raid walked so that John Wick could run.
oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely, yeah.
But I think in John Wick, so much of the fights are based around guns.
Yeah.
And guns.
Gun fu.
And I think guns are pretty fucking boring after a while. You
John
know,
Wick does make a good case to keep them interesting, but like I agree, like how many shootouts that are just like maybe since Heat have been that exciting, you know what I mean? Like it's cool, don't get me wrong, I still get a kick out of it, but
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember watching the first John Wick, and to me it was amazing that you hadn't really seen close-up gunfights.
Sure, yeah,
where
yeah,
the
yeah,
camera
yeah.
didn't leave someone's head being blown, you know, and constant.
Yes,
Like, it just
yeah,
felt
yeah.
a bit more real than what had come before that.
yeah.
Totally, yeah,
And actually, I think towards the beginning of the Raid, there is one of those scenes, and I was like, wow, that is where John Wick has just expanded on that.
Yeah,
for sure.
They do have some very large magazines in the Raid.
Yeah,
though.
they do.
I don't
Yeah.
proclaim to know much about guns, but I did not realize that you could fire an AK-47 for about 3 straight minutes.
into
But
the
guess
SWAT
what?
vehicle.
It's fucking cool to watch.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, let that one slide.
That is one thing I think John Wick does really good is that he does the Archer thing.
Sure,
I feel
yeah.
like he always knows how many bullets
Yes,
he's got.
yeah.
Whereas the Raid is just like, 600 bullets, that's just...
Sure,
It can do
why
that.
not?
Yeah, Revolver, that shoots like 20 bullets or something, I think.
Speaking of bullets, I think the 2 best scenes with guns in this film are actually just where single shots are fired. I think when we see the main drug kingpin executing a whole bunch of people and he gets to the last guy and he runs out of bullets and he goes to his desk to get bullets, but there's also a hammer there.
Yeah, but he leaves the gun on his shoulder. So just mind this for me.
I love it. That's one of my favorite
So you got this
scenes.
dude on his knees, like, bound and gagged.
He's just watched 3 other people get shot in the head.
Yeah,
next
and then
to him,
here's the gun behind his head. Just go click,
Click.
click, 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 click. So he rests the gun on his shoulder. He's like, just hold this for me. I'll be back. And then, he's like,
So he
I
gets
could get the bullets or I could get the hammer.
How fucking great is the transition when he hits him in the head with the hammer and the camera shakes and then we go back inside the...
Yeah.
So cool. And then obviously the gun incident that sparks the entire shithousery of the events. The tension, and that's one thing this movie does really well, is tension, especially in that opening act. The tension in that scene of they've managed to get to 5 floors by now without alerting anyone. Yeah. They do have someone as like sort of a collateral hostage sort of person. And in classic, like, Indonesian crime lord fashion, using children as spotters.
Yep.
Kid runs away. They're like, after this intense standoff, and then kid runs away, and then the leader, the general, fires the shot. And this kid manages to shout police to the next spotter, and as soon as he finished saying police, that bullet just goes through his neck.
Slow-mo rips through the door.
That slow-mo is amazing.
So cool.
Again, so impressive for a low-budget feature.
Oh, so impressive. It's and the tension in that scene is, you could cut it with a knife. Like, I was, again, where we said on our last episode with The Hunt, I've probably seen this movie maybe like 6, 7, 8 times. Like, I fucking love it. And it's still, that gets me every single time. And then what it leads to is just some of the most
carnage.
It's carnage. It's truly carnage.
And it's relentless.
Yeah.
It is, like we said, it clocks in at just under 100 minutes, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I absolutely love. We're all about short films here on that 1-inch barrier.
Amen. But
it is non-stop action from maybe like the 10-minute mark up until
it's exhausting,
the ending.
like in the best way possible. Like,
it's like
Rama's tired.
It definitely reminded me, and talking about the hammer as well. Old Boy,
very much Old Boy
and that
vibe.
corridor scene.
Yeah.
But for like 85 minutes.
If you like that scene in Old Boy and you want a whole movie of that, have I got a movie for you?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, this definitely won't be for everyone. Like, I think you have to have a bit of a palate for
gratuitous
bloodied violence.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The story, there's not a lot going on. And I think for context as well, for those who don't know, there is a sequel, The Raid 2 Barandal, and which is brilliant. But that was actually the film Gareth Evans initially wanted to make. But it was quite a big, ambitious project. So he made The Raid first to get funding for the second one. He just made this tight, compact, one location.
It's so
action
good.
Thriller.
That's such a good idea to.
It's a great idea, but the quality of this is kind of like, if that's just what you, like, frankly pulled out of your ass, right? Like, to make. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah,
And Gareth Evans has gone on to make, I don't know if you've seen Apostle, the Netflix film with Dan Stevens. It's a horror film.
No, I didn't see that.
Really good. Not, I don't think as good as the Raid films, but he's a quality director. Yeah. Something, and I wanted to show you guys before we actually film this. Like, he did a short for VHS 2, the horror anthology, which is my favorite out of all the VHS films, which isn't hard to pick a favorite. That scene, that short film in that is terrifying, but again, has that, it's a found footage, because that's the whole point of the VHS thing. It's all horror found footage. Yeah. It's a found footage short film that is terrifying and just as bloody as everything he's ever done. And it's great. Well, if we have time afterwards, I'll show you guys before we go. But,
I mean, and he has gone on to do some, like, really well.
Gangs of London, which is, again, notorious for its insane fight scenes. Like,
I just get him confused with Gareth Edwards all the time.
Always.
I was like, man, the guy who did The Raid did The Creator.
The Creator, exactly.
You think all white guys called Gareth are the same, Kieran?
Yes, that is exactly what I think.
Fair enough.
Gareth Bale, like, it's incredible.
But yeah, I mean, the story of this is completely fine. Like, all you need to know.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be much. No. It just doesn't. There's a few little tidbits throughout.
Twists and turns of sort of like, why the mission's actually happening and who is on Rama's side, who's not. Rama is, Iko Uwais is a good enough actor to be like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm rooting for this guy. I want him to get out alive.
Yeah, I really, he's really charismatic.
He's got it. He does. He's got presence, doesn't he? On screen, yeah, for sure.
But in a way, he's also very much, I feel like enough of a blank slate that we can kind of project ourselves onto him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't feel.
Wow, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
It feels like a video game.
Oh,
God,
yeah. As you were putting out the plot of going up floors, it is like a video game.
Yeah,
of
and
floor
it
after
each
floor
level
after floor.
sort of,
And it feels like one, you know, and I think that works that Rama is sort of, you know, enough of a blank slate that we can picture ourselves as him. We can put ourselves onto his journey. Whereas, again, to reference something like John Wick is very much his own character.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and I think there's a difference, right? Is like John Wick is like the boogeyman, the
Baba
Baba
Yaga.
Yaga. You know, he's like this amazing hitman that everyone is terrified just of the concept of, and then you've got Rama, who is the
rookie.
You know, and people are actually saying like, you know, this kid's going to be useless. Why is he here?
Ends up being the goddamn hero.
Yeah.
Do we have a favorite scene? Or before we say favorite scenes, again, just the tension of the machete scene. Is the most like white knuckle thing I think in that movie.
When he's in the toilet.
When he's
hiding behind the fake wall, and you've got
the machete comes through,
and you've got him, you know, sticking his machete through the wall.
If anyone remembers the Evil Dead remake that came out a couple of years ago, and the machete scene in that, this is on that level. It's just sort of I just love it. But do we have a favorite action scene that stands out? Is there a set piece in this film where you were like, fuck yeah, that's the best one?
I think for me, it's towards the end when Rama and his brother Andy
Andy are fighting Mad Dog.
So Andy is the...
what a great villain name. He's the Mad Dog.
What's his name? Mad Dog.
I love it.
Andy is Rama's brother who is working for, you know, he's like the lieutenant for the drug kingpin. Again, we find that out pretty early on in the film. I feel like this is not really a film that spoilers exist for. You're not here for the story.
No. It's like my one is that you find out the general of the SWAT team, like the main guy, has orchestrated this whole thing secretly. Like no one knows it's happening. So there's
no backup coming
because
for them.
He wants to kill one of the corrupt cops who, without he just wants him executed because he's like, you know, this has gone too far. The corruption's too far. I'm a part of it as well. We need to end this. So he's like, when Rama's like, call for backup, he's like, there's no backup coming.
No one knows about this.
No one knows about this. So like, it's cool. Like there's these cool elements. And then when Andy's revealing like he's Rama's brother.
Yeah. Which like so cliche. Like
I
the rookie cop, the pregnant wife. His brother is in the gang. Like
I love it.
So fucking cliche and predictable. But God, I eat it up every
also,
time.
You got to respect Mad Dog because that scene is when Rama comes in and sees Andy getting beaten up by. Mad Dog,
tortured, I guess.
Tortured.
Yeah.
And Mad Dog lets him down. He's like, all right, I'll fight both of you. And he's like, fuck yeah, you will do.
And I think that's, again, something that's great about this film compared to, you know, an American production is that Mad Dog isn't like this big hulking 7 foot, you know, the mountain from Game of Thrones.
Totally.
You know, he's not this really big, muscly, scary dude. He's like this little wiry.
He's like a scrawny little Indonesian guy.
Yeah. He's like little Jack Russell kind of vibe.
All that Jack Russell energy comes out when he starts kicking everyone's ass. Like, holy shit.
You know, we've seen that Andy and Rama are both pretty capable, Rama especially, and then Mad Dog, you know, pretty much takes it up to both of them for that fight scene feels like it goes on for about 15 minutes.
It's long, but
it is great. It just doesn't cut away. It is just like three guys in this room, you know, trying to kill one another. And it's amazing.
It's so good.
I think that just, really sums up what makes the film so awesome for me.
How about yourself, Josh?
The corridor scene for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The amount of stuff that goes on there, I guess the difference in how it starts. They've got to pull out so many different, just smashing their head all the way down the wall.
I've never seen so many.
I've
never seen such variety in the kills.
No, that's right. Yeah,
you know, I reckon he probably kills about 15 people in that scene. And I reckon there's 15 different deaths.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And the guy who ends up over the broken door.
Oh yeah, oh my god!
It's just
so broken bit of door sticking out from the floor, and he just lands like neck first and just impales himself. And you see it close up, dead center.
He's not hiding. anything
it's
younger
really
than Gareth Evans.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Nick?
The drug den fight when they get to the floor in the apartment building where all the drugs are getting made, and it's just all these, and it's the first time for me in the film sort of where maybe outside of where they cut the hole in the floor to go back down, we get more wide lens. Like the corridor scene is
it's very claustrophobic,
which is awesome. You know, and the same in that room with Mad Dog. There's some wide shots, but it's a very claustrophobic feel. This feels like this just opens. It's like a playground.
Yeah.
A playground of death.
Yes.
And he just gets to do whatever he can and wants, but he's throwing dudes out of windows. He's flipping them onto tables. The filing I love the filing cabinet one.
Yeah.
Just smashes the dude into it.
Like tips a bookshelf on
Onto
someone.
people.
Yeah.
But then he has the knife in this one. This is the one where Rama's like stabbing dudes like 6 times in a couple of seconds, and he'll swing around and then slit someone's throat, and then he's punched. It's just such a grandiose action scene. It's just so. But to me, that's almost like picking my favorite child. And if you listen to the Hunt episode, you know we hate children. But but to me, that's like that's my favorite. But it's not necessarily better than the corridor scene, then the Mad Dog fight, then the tension in the scene where Rama has to axe a hole in the floor to get down a level because so many guys are coming to fight.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite shots is the cop. It's the initial corrupt cop who can hear the footsteps, and he just times it to when the guy comes down the hole, tackles him out a window. It's awesome. That's so cool.
Like he's jumping through a hole in the ceiling,
and he gets caught
catches him midair and just launches him.
And then the camera goes out the window, which is like cool. Like the shots are so cool, man.
It's so creative.
The way the camera moves with the violence is kind of like, it's a bit more polished in things like Upgrade or even Talk to Me recently in the possession scenes where the camera sort of follows things. This is definitely more gritty, but for a $1.1 million budget, and the way he moves the camera with the action and the violence, Gareth Evans is fantastic. It's so exciting. It's just
it is exciting.
It's white knuckle shit, man.
And you could give me 100 times the budget. You give me $100 million, and I could not make a film anywhere near as good as this.
Right? No, not at all. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Special shout out to the fridge scene.
Oh my god!
I just love the idea of a gas bottle in a fridge.
Then it's a big explosion, and even still, like the post that with the white light and like the ringing, and still having to fight.
And
with
that's right. Yeah,
it's so good. But it's great. It's such it's very inventive, very MacGyver.
And that's sort of a theme throughout the film, I feel, of like, because Rama is on his own, he doesn't have any weapons, so he's having to get pretty imaginative with how he can take on 20 guys at once.
Sure.
Using like a propane tank to basically blow up a door and kill all the people that are trying to break down the door. It's amazing.
So we briefly mentioned that there's a sequel, The Raid 2 Barrandole. We've seen it. Yep. You haven't seen it yet?
No, but by the time this episode comes out, that's probably going to have changed.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because that has shocked me. Because how many times have you seen The Raid?
Oh, probably like 5 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
And every time I watch it, I'm like, I'm going to watch the sequel. And then I just
You'll love it. You'll love The Raid 2.
Yeah.
It's bigger.
I'm a busy man, Josh.
It's got one of the most exciting car chase scenes in modern cinema history. And it's Gareth Evans just using these really dynamic camera movements to capture all the violence. Like the way the camera moves in and out of cars in that scene is just ridiculous.
Do you have the budget on the second one?
4.5.
$4.5 million.
How crazy is
So
that?
4 times the budget of the original, but still
4 times
Wait
the
till
action.
you see it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
incredible.
That's
what
almost
we can do.
crazier than the first one.
That to me, that's actually kind of mental.
Yeah,
to be
I do
honest.
wonder how much of that is like being deliberately low budget and how much of it is, being able to pay your gaffer like $6.
Yeah, well, there
true,
is
yeah.
of course, yeah.
Yeah, of course. But
But
it's
still.
so
Yeah,
fucking exciting.
amazing.
I'm gonna get lost down a rabbit hole. I really want to watch Raid 2 now.
Yeah, so do I.
And there's a bit more of an expanded story as well. There's a lot more scenes with Rama dealing with the fact that he's, now been plunged into this underworld sort of thing. So,
Yeah, right up your alley, Nick.
right, hey, corrupt cops, criminal underworlds, a world that I'll never know in real life, but I can live very vicariously through films like The Departed and The Raid 2. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, and like when it comes to like favorite characters, like it's hard to go, like Rama, but I love Mad Dog.
Mad Dog is
Mad
great.
Dog's cool.
There is a great scene, another fight scene with Mad Dog and the the head of the SWAT team.
The
Yeah,
general
that's who
guy.
that's who I was about to mention.
He's
yeah.
brilliant in this film.
Jacka?
Jaka,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
And he's like one of the only kind of like he's the real good guy of the
That's
group.
who it is.
Yeah.
Joe Taslim. He's in Mortal Kombat.
He's in Fast and Furious 6 as well.
Hell yeah, he is.
And
Star Trek Beyond. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jaka. Yeah.
I really like him.
Really
For
great
his,
fight scene, yeah.
I think he does a lot with his role in the
yeah,
film.
because he's sort of like I don't care if all my men are dead. I'm not leaving until I've made sure that they are all dead and there's no one that we can rescue. Like you've screwed us by doing this secret operation.
Yeah.
You're going to help me get us out of here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sadly, he doesn't make it.
Yeah,
but
No, that's brutal.
Yeah, it is
That
brutal.
is
Yeah,
brutal.
Yeah.
But fantastic. And that's another testament to like, these actors, this guy's gone on to do Mortal Kombat, obviously, because he's a fantastic fighter too. Like his choreography is great. And I know people don't love Mortal Kombat, but I do think the fight scenes in that film are really exciting and really well done. So
I feel like I remember reading, I can't remember if it was Jaka or not, but I was watching some behind the scenes stuff from when it premiered at, I want to say TIFF.
TIFF, yes, yeah.
And I feel like
to a rave reviews and excitement and sort of
understandably so.
Yeah.
But Joe Taslim, I feel like might have been a gymnast.
Okay, yeah. I just had his page on.
Judo athlete, it says.
He was in Indonesia's national judo team for 12 years, from 97 to 2009, 3-time medalist in the Southeast Asian Games and gold medalist in the Pekan Olahraga Nasional Games.
There you go. So that's the thing again.
Yeah,
it's like picking people who can act, but also have these
Yeah.
backgrounds in martial arts.
Yeah.
Which I think really, really elevates the film. You're not getting actors trying to, like I look at Keanu Reeves, especially in the later John Wick films, and he's, in his mid-50s and doing all this stuff, and I'm going, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can suspend my
Don't ruin
disbelief.
the illusion for me, Kieran. I love John Wick 4.
There's only so many times a man can fall down a flight of stairs.
Oh, I love it though.
I love it as well.
That's it. So it to me just triggers that primal like you can underdog, like you can do it, John Wick. Keep going.
You just hear the Rocky theme starting in the
Literally,
background.
I'm living in a perpetual Rocky theme in my head. Like, hey, you can do it.
Nick's life is just one big Rocky montage.
Yeah.
It literally
100%.
is. I mean, it is a nice way to live. I'm not gonna lie. It makes you think you can fight everyone, but I cannot. I was like, I need to stay away. There's no chance I'm doing Pencak Salat anytime soon.
But it does feel so grounded and believable, even though like these kills and these fights are so over the top.
Sure.
It always feels grounded.
Yeah.
I feel it. There's never a moment where I'm like, I don't buy it. Like is Rama gonna be, fighting off 100 guys at once and still be going at the end of it? Probably not.
No.
But
No.
I mean, dude's a badass. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care.
totally. Yeah.
And we get I think the final 5 minutes of this film, post the Mad Dog fight, post confronting the drug kingpin, is really cool. Like, I think it's a great. It doesn't alleviate any of the tension, but it's like the first time you can kind of breathe since the action starts, and it's actually like a dramatically good end to the film. I like the slow motion walks, and I like the sort of bit of voiceover from both Rama and Andy as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of and where it leads to in the Raid 2 is a nice. The Raid 2 picks up a couple of hours after the first film.
Yeah.
I think it's just
Which is
a tight
insane.
film.
It's just they threw that.
Yeah, he's
and
just
then 2
like
hours later.
he's like,
just
do I get
starts
food or
again.
water? And it's like, you kicked a hornet's nest, my friend.
Yeah, that's
we got to send you
exactly
back
right.
in. That's
Yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah.
this how the
Yeah,
Raid
yeah.
2 starts.
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't fuck up, but now you've got to clean up the fuck up.
I know you've had a bad day, but it's about to get even worse.
Oh, it gets, and the Raid 2 set over a long period of time too. Like,
Whereas the Raid is probably what, maybe
it starts early
few
in the
hours?
morning, and then it's probably maybe like lunchtime by the time they're done. Yeah,
like I feel like it's no more than a full day.
sure.
No,
I would
it's
agree.
not.
Yeah.
Like it's morning to evening at the longest.
Yeah. It's so much fun. It's
Which
so
I love.
good.
I love films that, like, obviously it's not real time,
No,
but it's pretty close.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
it
damn
kind of
close.
starts to. It feels a bit real timey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love. Like
Yeah.
it's such
Yeah, I
an
love that.
interesting way to present something
Yeah.
like that.
I did find the language is an interesting language to listen
Indonesian.
to.
Yeah.
I've got like sort of Spanish but faster. It sounded like
do.
a fast Spanish
It's
almost.
a very quick
Very
language.
quick,
I had
yeah.
trouble keeping up with
Yeah.
the subtitles.
yeah. Yeah.
Not that you need to in a film like this.
well, true.
No,
but
there's-
they go quick.
Yeah.
they do. Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you watch something like a Japanese or Korean film and they'll talk
you a
for
bit
like
more
20
time.
minutes, and then it'll be like, thank you.
No, totally. Yeah, it's a fast dialect, and it's a fast-paced movie for that reason as well, I guess. But no, it's an interesting point actually. Yeah, I might just try and take notice of that when I watch it for the 900th time. Yeah, because I don't think I've seen many Indonesian films outside. I'm trying to think. Like,
I don't think I could name another Indonesian film.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, if that action films are probably like maybe all I've seen, but yeah, like The Night Comes for Us,
Which has got the same two guys in it.
Same two guys. It's Iko Uwais and the guy who plays Mad Dog, but the guy who directed it, which just quickly give it to me now, please. I don't have it here. Timo Yejanto actually co-directed the VHS short film with Gareth Evans.
Wow, okay.
And The Night Comes. This is going to be a bold statement. The Night Comes for Us, I think, is even bloodier than The Raid.
Yeah.
It is violent as fuck.
Yeah.
Headshot, very similar. So the movies we are seeing coming out of Indonesia are a lot of these like insane action films or some horror films as well, by the looks of it. I haven't seen many dramas or comedies, even though there's definitely are some as I'm looking here. But
I haven't seen
the more mainstream ones are the actioners and then a couple of horror films.
I feel like that's pretty standard for a lot of countries, though, in terms of what we get imported to us as Western audiences. Yeah. You know, it's the same reason that we got a lot of like the Bruce Lee stuff, and
totally.
That was our Asian cinema that we got.
Yeah,
and we thought that Asian cinema was just martial arts films.
Yeah.
You know, and French films were always like, weird incestuous romances.
Yeah.
Because we're all a bunch of perverts.
Pervs.
And I feel like that's sort of typical, is that we kind of latch on to this idea of a country producing one kind of film. So it's natural that we'd get a lot of action out of Indonesia. But if we have any followers, listeners from Indonesia or know Indonesian films,
let us know.
Please let us know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else to say before we wrap up The Raid?
It's a pretty quick episode for a pretty quick film.
It's a quick movie. You can't spoil the action because it's that fucking good. You'll watch it and you'll be like, oh my God, like the boys played this down.
It's so visceral.
It's visceral, gritty, bloody. You feel it all.
You feel it. The
sound design is so good.
Yeah.
Score, like we talked about.
Great. The cinematography is so exciting and dynamic.
Yeah.
It's not a pretty film, but it's perfect for what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's your film? Do you want to pitch and star?
Elevator pitch.
Pitch and star.
Pitch and star. Definitely sounds like I don't know.
Worse than it is, right?
Yeah. If you like action films, watch The Raid. It is the action film. Mm-hmm. If you like John Wick, but you want to see, less stylized fighting, you want to just see, 100 minutes of dudes in a gross apartment building beating the shit out of each other, watch The Raid. I don't think it's going to be, your introduction and gateway to Indonesian cinema or anything like that. And I definitely don't think it's going to be for everyone, given it is, it is an action film. It is nothing more than that. There's no real drama. There's no real story. It is just straight up 100 minutes of action. But if that's your kind of movie, 100% recommend it.
Yeah.
Star rating?
4.
Oh, Josh?
I expected more. 4.5.
Thanks, Dad.
4.5.
I definitely, right. 4.5 for me.
4.5 for me.
Yeah.
I did say the same as Kieran was saying. This is like a quintessential action film.
Yep.
The quote on the poster that I've got here is the best action movie in decades in 2011. That's not a lie.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, I definitely I think there's like born sort of vibes as well with the fight.
Born Identity vibe.
Yeah.
Which, funnily enough, when this is going to be coming out around, Doug Liman, who directed Born Identity, directed the new Roadhouse movie. Yes. And I would even admit some of the fights in this new Roadhouse movie are pretty...
Oh, good.
Not on the level of this, but for an American film, pretty brutal and exciting.
Yeah, because the Bournes did different stuff with fighting.
I think we all go over to the scene in France where the guy comes through the window.
Yeah.
But even stuff like, while they're obviously not as, heavily centered around action sequences, things like later Mission Impossible films, the later Daniel Craig Bond films.
Yes.
Just this grittiness,
and I feel like, you think about the Henry Cavill, reloading the arms.
So good.
Yeah, that bathroom scene is
so good. And I think, in the later Bond films, there's a bit more, hand-to-hand stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the David Leitch stuff, like Bullet Train.
Atomic Blonde. Yeah, sort of really focuses on that. So the Raid is
so
influential.
If you like all those, this is
the real gritty, in your face, bloody version of it all.
Yeah, this is just the 100% pure adrenaline action version.
Adrenaline is the key word there. I think it's just adrenaline fueled.
Yeah. And whereas there's scenes in those movies, this is the movie.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No time to breathe from 10 minutes in till the credits roll.
Yeah.
Incredible film.
And I mean, it is literally like the action stops. There's 2 minutes of like wrap up exposition, and then it's just credits.
The Raid.
Yeah, which I love. I think for me, it's sort of between a 4 and a 4.5.
Sure.
I just think, I don't know. It's star ratings are completely fucking arbitrary.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
I think, could maybe go up to a 4.5. I feel like based on what you guys have said and what I know of it, the Raid 2 could very well be a 4.5.
Yeah, what's your star rating on that?
Mine's 4.
So it's like
it's a slight. I enjoy watching the Raid more, but the Raid 2 is incredible.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. Like it's
I feel like with the more fleshed out, a bit more plot.
You might enjoy the Raid 2 then
value
because it's very much a more fleshed out plot.
I feel like
I'd originally I'd given it 4.5 as well. The Raid 2. So
which is fair. Like they're both incredible.
Yeah. I think I love that the Raid is just 100 minutes of pure intense action.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I think I would have actually been okay with it being 20 minutes longer.
Yeah, okay. With a little bit of extra.
And a bit more fleshed out.
Yeah.
A bit more meat.
Yeah.
A bit more meat and bones to get ripped and broken.
Yeah, right? And I think maybe, like we talk about the sergeant or whatever he is that's kind of running this, secret operation.
Yeah, I kept calling him sergeant. Sorry, it's a lieutenant. If anyone's going to get real mad at me about
we know our ranks. Who's running this operation. I would have liked to have seen maybe a bit more about him before we got into the building and why he's doing this. And like it might not have, made the reveal as impactful, but just get to know the characters a bit more outside of the building.
You'll like the Raid 2 then.
Then I think that probably would have gone up to a 4.5. So
because they do that with the villain in the Raid 2.
Awesome. Yeah, but 100% would recommend.
All the punches and kicks to the body of the actors were real.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me. Yeah. It looked real.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Fighters had to learn how to control their speed and strength so that it would look real on the camera. Man, oh man.
You're fighting too fast. I love that. I love it. Well, I'm on an adrenaline high after that. The Raid. Great film.
Jacked
up. How exciting.
I think this is our shortest episode, but probably our shortest film that we've done.
Probably, actually, yeah. We'll be close to it, yeah.
40, yeah.
But it's now my pick.
It is
for next month, which is May.
Yeah,
Where are we now?
You're listening to this in April.
April, yes. So May is my pick, and it's a couple of months post this person's current acclaim. Mr. Yorgos Lanthimos has been in the light recently with Poor Things, which is a fantastic film. And I thought, similar to what we did with Bong Joon-ho, why don't we go back and see sort of some of the films that Yorgos made in his native language that sort of put him on the map. And what better way to mix our love of filmmakers' early films and the horniness that you freaks love by making all of our sex film episodes the most listened to with Dogtooth. Have we all seen Dogtooth?
No.
Yeah.
I've seen Dog. You're in for a treat.
So I've seen The Favourite and I've seen Poor Things and I loved both of them.
Which are both Yorgos Lanthimos' English language films,
yeah.
outside of Lobster and Killing of Sacred Deer as well.
So I'm really excited to see, where he started and going to a country that I don't know much about, Greek films.
Yeah.
So you guys are in for a...
I watched it. I remember talking to you.
So I mentioned it to Josh because he brought it up. He's like, he watched it. And I was like,
I just watched that last night. And he's like, oh, that's my pick.
I was like, that's what I'm picking. So 2009 film Dogtooth. It's a drama. It's a thriller. It's a dark comedy. But all around, it's fucked up. And that's what we love.
Yeah.
Is that an hour 37 minutes?
An hour 37.
Yeah.
So this might be our shortest film, but there'll be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there will be. Let's go back up. The plot is a controlling, manipulative father locks his 3 adult offsprings in a state of perpetual childhood by keeping them prisoner within the sprawling family compound.
Oh yeah, sounds like a nice date night film.
Yeah.
This is pretty exciting. But yeah, like I said, our first Greek film as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, cool.
Dogtooth coming in May. But thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to The Raid. Thank you for obviously going back with our March Madness episodes as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google Podcasts, we're everywhere. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we will be there. You can't hide from us. And the YouTube channel as well. If you could subscribe, let us know in the comments of any Indonesian films you think we should have a look at, and let us know what your favorite scene in The Raid is as well, because I think everyone has a different favorite action scene.
We did.
Which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That 1 Inch Barrier on Instagram, pretty much anywhere you want to find us, that 1 Inch Barrier.
We're on more platforms than we have listeners.
That's just yes and yes. But we will see you next month on that 1 Inch Barrier.
Thanks, guys. See you then.